So I realized somewhat recently, and by somewhat recently I mean last night, that I'm running a lot of Linux distributions that are Ubuntu. And I was like, we should try to change that and see what else we can do with this. And this monitor is probably not going to play well on camera because it does not play well in real life. But this was my my newest foray into different Linux distributions here. This is one that I actually did kind of really like from my short time playing around with it last night. This is Linux Mint. That alarm is telling me it is 10 a.m. Alright, so this is actually the desktop of Linux Mint. And from what I've experienced with it, it's a very, very friendly user interface. This is their Cinnamon one, by the way. And if you're looking for a way to get started with Linux, this is actually apparently a pretty good option because it's very, very friendly. More so than even like Ubuntu or Fedora or any of the other ones I've previously played with. I don't know, maybe I've heard Elementary might be easier for those of you more familiar with the Mac side, because Elementary is very, very visually similar to OS X from what I can tell from screenshots. I have not used Elementary, so I don't condone Elementary necessarily, but this actually looks and feels pretty good. As you can tell, this one is more similar to like a Windows if you must compare it or something. But everything actually does seem to be working pretty well. But I actually was looking a little bit more and found a couple of other distributions that I want to play with. This one is not as much of a distribution as it is a sub-distribution of my usual Ubuntu. This is Ubuntu Studio. I mean, well, this is the depository for it. So I will probably wind up installing that a little bit later. And then I found one that I actually really, really liked. And obviously Ubuntu Studio is going to be like a version of Ubuntu that's designed more for like creative professionals, but I actually managed to find one that would one-up this. This one right here is KX Studio, which is not only designed for creative individuals, but it's straight up designed for audio engineers. So yeah, you can imagine that this one is probably going to get installed pretty soon because I want to play with this. Because that seems pretty fun. Well, seeing as how it's now 5 minutes to midnight, it's probably a pretty good time to actually wind up ending today off. Now, what happened the rest of the day, because I was talking a little bit about Linux distributions earlier today. Well, where is it? The laptop up here, this Dell, is now running KX Studio, which I did like quite a bit. It actually seemed pretty solid, but it was missing a few key things. So what I actually wound up doing is dual booting it once again. Also, is this actually charged? I always forget. See, I have slightly different charge lights. I just want to make sure it's actually plugged in so I can use it again tomorrow. Yeah, I guess it's charged if it's not doing anything. But yeah, so this is running the KX Studio, and I also just have it dual booted with regular Ubuntu because I tried a little bit with the creator Ubuntu, but it honestly wasn't that promising. And even if I wanted to try it, it actually didn't work, and it straight up just did not work in the installation. Wouldn't let me install it whatsoever. So I kind of figured like it was probably a good thing to just give up on because I didn't want to go through the hassle of having to do that. This is running Ubuntu right now. I might put something else on it eventually. I'm going to try to get Mac OS X working on this again. Or Elementary. This is still running Linux Mint like I showed the other day. And that's kind of where my computers are for the moment. Pretty satisfied with it. Kind of just happy to be experimenting and playing around with Linux. Because, you know, that's always a good thing to do. But as I mentioned, by the fact that it's getting really late, I am exhausted, and I want to head to bed. So I think I'm going to head to bed now and say thanks for watching, and maybe, I don't know, we'll do something actually productive for once tomorrow. Because that's always a good thing to try to do. See you guys then.